My son asked me the question that tipped me off. Can I hold this candle, mommy? He asked and pointed to the centerpiece. No, son, you are too young. When you are older you can hold as many candles as you want. He looked upset. Uncle Gary let me hold a candle. He was mad at me. I glanced at my brother who pretended not to hear what was happening. He took a bite. I continued to stare at him until he looked at me. You let him hold a candle, Gary? I looked back to my son. He didn't say anything. Where did you hold a candle, honey? He smiled wide as he remembered the words he had clearly been taught today. The Lord's house, he blurted out. The Lord's house? Otherwise known as Epping Church? I laid down my fork and knife, removed the napkin from my lap. Gary, can I speak with you in the other room, please? The family was dead silent. My parents, my grandparents, my husband, my brother's wife and kids, everyone was tense. He followed me to the living room. He said, before you get mad, let me explain, please. I was already furious. Okay, go ahead. One question though, what was the one rule I made before we came out here? I asked. Don't indoctrinate your son. I know, but let me explain. He responded. And if you had to explain what you did in one word, what would that word be exactly? Starts with an Indiana. I responded. I knew everyone could hear us at the dinner table. We were just in the other room. I didn't care. He was looking at his shoes. It was a wonderful service. He was so excited to go. Susan, his wife, and I had been talking. He needed to see it for himself. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He continued. I wish you could have joined. We showed him how to sing along and everything. I was shocked, betrayed. I'm sure my mouth hung wide open. I had one rule, and they couldn't help themselves. My husband had already gathered my son from the dinner table. Him and I talked it over in the bedroom. Decision made. We were out. Sorry, not sorry. OUT. Sorry, mom and dad, but your son made a decision that I could not right now fathom forgiving him for. My parents begged us to stay. I accused them of being able to stop him at any point. I asked my brother how he would feel if I had brought his kids to a effing pro-choice rally on Christmas Eve. He was hurt by this. I could tell. They all said they were so sorry, but that they too thought it would be good for my son to see what a Christmas Eve service was all about. I was so angry. One effing rule. Down the drain. Okay, they made their decision. Now it was time for me to make mine. We put on our coats, packed up the bags and presents, left at that very moment. Before I left, and this is the part that I may live to regret, I shouldn't have done it, but I couldn't resist. They had to know what they did was wrong, and what I did next I'm not proud of. We were on the door threshold to leave, when I addressed my brother's kids. Oh, and one last thing, kids. It's time you learned one thing. Santa is as fake as Jesus Christ. Your parents made them both up. Ho ho ho. Merry Christmas. I heard shocked gasps. My brother's kids' eyes immediately filled with tears. The last thing I saw were their desperate eyes looking to their parents to explain what I had just said. I'll admit it felt good, to ruin their Christmas like they had ruined mine. We left. Would not spend one more moment in a house that chose not to respect how I want to raise my son. We were in a hotel on Christmas, but whatever, we made the most of it. My parents called me over and over. I texted them that I would become a part of their lives again once they decided to respect who I was as a person. We will see what they decide. What is more important, their religion, or their flesh and blood?